Okay, have and have not fans. While recording my episode review for The Heart of Man, I pretty much paused at the moment when I was discussing the scene where, Candace paid Warlock the $2 million. They are apparently back on good terms up until the point that he got arrested, thinking that Candace set it up. And she was in the car crying. Now, it never dawned on me until again while I was recording the episode review the the power of that scene. Because again, most people write it off as, wow, Candace pretty much realized she just paid off her death warrant. Like, that was pretty much saved Benny's life as well as her own. But it goes deeper than that, and here's why. It has to do in regards with a couple things. First being that, again, if she doesn't pay back the $2 million to the bank in about 14 or 15, essentially 2 weeks, she's going to lose both houses as well as the tow yard. Because, again, she didn't have time to read the fine print because Lloyd, if I'm not mistaken, Lloyd, the banker, was pretty much rushing her because Jim said put that balloon of the 14 days in there so deep that she will have to look hard to find it to see if she's really smart as she thinks she is. But given the fact that Benny's life was on the line, plus she's on a timetable and wanted the cash, she didn't have time to fully go through the contract because at first she really was looking at it line by line because Lloyd kept rushing her and she kept, look, I'm trying to read this thing. Point number 2. I compare the scene or the scenario of Warlock and Candace and then her crying in the car to the Malones, where she was essentially captured for days and then she was crying before she got shot or killed, and then she was pretty much crying as she walked back from the woods to her apartment and then found it empty. Here's why I'm making this video, because I want to compare the two scenarios. Season 2 was where she got abducted by the Malones thanks to Jim and her own actions and deceit and lies, because again, it wasn't until she got abducted that Jim found out that the lie of her being pregnant was created so she can get money. Now, the reason she was indebted to War was because she lied about the money, the amount that she received from Jim Cryer. And now Jim is the one who put the air balloon in there of the contract. And if she doesn't pay back the money to the bank in about 2 weeks, she's going to lose everything. And then if you remember in the Malone situation, after Candace was abducted, he goes over there to get Amanda, has the movers take everything from the apartment. And and she didn't even have shoes. Pretty much, she caught the cab to Warlock's area and got, I believe it was $5,000 to get her back on her feet. No pun intended, because she didn't have shoes. Wow. Again, Tyler Perry, I just love, I'm thinking that, being the complex thinker that he is, like myself, that he's writing this stuff out purposefully so things play out the same way, or at least the little clues and hints. If you just look at it, the fact that Candace's lies and deceits is what got her into the Malone situation to begin with, and then she got out of it with nothing but her life. This situation is the same. Her lies and deceits are what's got her in trouble with Warlock because of the money she stole from Jim, because she lied about the amount. She paid back paid the $2 million ransom, if you will, to Warlock. But Jim created that air balloon in the contract where if she doesn't pay back the $2 million in 2 weeks, she has her life because she paid off the $2 million, but she's going to end up with nothing because of the bank foreclosing on the 2 houses as well as the tow company. So that's why I'm making the video again, just comparing the scenarios where Candace got herself into those Candace got herself in those situations. Jim got her out because remember, Mama Rose wanted her dead. Jim said, just, shoot the gun near her head to make, scare her. In this situation, hey, put the air balloon in there to think she's okay, but then she's going to have nothing. Which is kind of interesting because, Jim gave Candace life in the Malone situation to scare her off. In the Warlock situation, Jim gave Candace money, not knowing the exact situation that she was in, but unbeknownst to him, he gave her life again by telling the bank to give her the loan for the $2 million, which was paid to Warlock to save her life as well as Benny's. So again, that's just me putting those connections together. I don't know if you thought about that as well, but the fact that Mitch is revealed to be the brothers with the Malones means that we might be seeing Mama Rose and the Malone boys again in the near future. Not to mention that Benny and Mitch are on a stakeout for David at his house or his location so they can get their phones back on. I'm pretty sure if Mitch and David and Benny meet face to face, David's going to ask some questions and then get some answers in terms of who Mitch really is, and then talk with Mama Rose and see how that situation is going to go out. Because again, I think it would be pretty cool if we get like a giant war between, no pun intended, between Warlock and his crew versus the Malones. I think that would be an interesting scenario, just because again it shows how thugs from one side of the tracks deal with a secret society or mafia, if you will, on the other side of the track. So I think that would be an interesting encounter. So between those scenarios, the Malones as well as Warlock with Candace essentially ended up with nothing. I really think the scenario is going to play out this way. Potentially, by some means, David tells Oscar to cut the phones back on for for Benny and Mitch, and everything's all well and good with the tow company. Candace gets a little cue back. Everything's good. She paid off Warlock. She thinks everything's good without knowing that he is arrested, thinking that she is the cause of it. So maybe Hannah and Benny are back on good terms after he reveals that, hey, me and Veronica is over and I sleep with her anymore. I think that things are going to start to look up. That's usually when things go bad, when things start to look up. That's when the bank's going to knock on the door and give a foreclosure notice on Candace's house, Benny's house, and the tow company. I think that's what's going to happen. When everything seems like it's good, that's when everything's going to get worse. And that's when Warlock's going to reappear and demand even more money, if not beat Candace to death. So that's kind of like, well, I guess this video is a mixture between theories as well as observation. So with that being said, do you think that I'm making any sense here? Am I seeing things as they really are in terms of the writing that Tyler Perry created, where it's not so much recycling the same scenario, but bringing it to us in a different light? Because again, I really think it's interesting to show that Candace is like being shown mercy, if you will, but she isn't changing. I don't know how many times or what it's going to take for her to actually change, if she can change. I believe she can change. I don't know what's going to spark that change. Hopefully it won't be the death of her brother or son. I don't think they deserve that. So again, comment, subscribe, share, like, and I will see you all in the next video.